Good day. I'm Chris Jansing in for Andrea Mitchell here in Havana with the very latest on a pivotal day for U.S.-Cuba relations. Right now, a sitting U.S. president is meeting privately with Cuba's leader on Cuban soil. This is the first time in 88 years. We're expecting both President Obama and President Castro to make statements in the next hour. New York Democratic Congressman Gregory Meeks and Vermont Democratic Congressman Peter Welch are part of the congressional delegation that arrived with the president. They join me here in Havana. It's good to see both of you, Congressmen. Try to put this into some context. You were telling me, Congressman Meeks, you've been coming here since 1999. On the ground here, I've spoken to so many Cubans who never thought they'd see this day happen. What do you make of what's happening here right now in Havana?
Well, it's very emotional. And as you just walk the streets and you talk to individuals, they want to be close to the United States. They're just 90 miles off our shore. And so this is a dream that is becoming reality, to see that we're finally talking to one another and the opportunity to have people-to-people contact to make life better for the people here, as well as for the relationship with people and the American Cubans who can come and families here. So this is a fantastic door-opening and historic occasion. The
significance of the meeting that's going on right now. Now, we should say that Raul Castro and the president have spoken before. I was there in Panama with the president when they made that handshake that was so historic as well. But take us inside as much as you can, Congressman Welch. What do you imagine that conversation is like? What do you think the president should be saying?
Well, I mean, there's two things. The president definitely is going to make an argument for humanitarian rights and political openness. But the bottom line here is that that's going to be a bottom-up process. There's jubilation here in Cuba. And there's a contradiction because this is an ambitious people, a creative people, and they're dealing with a calcified political system. And there's a debate in our country about engagement, which the president favors, or continuation of the embargo. And bottom line, which one has the better prospect to help everyday Cuban people? And we believe it's engagement. That's clearly what the president believes as well. And by the way, ending the embargo, which is something only Congress can do, that is no favor to Raul Castro. That's going to unleash a level of energy here that is going to create its own dynamic. So the congressional delegation is really excited to meet Cuban people who look to America as a land of hope and promise.
We need to talk a lot about the change we've seen on the ground, but let me ask you about the change in Congress. A bipartisan congressional delegation, although heavy, as we see here on the Democratic side of the aisle. Absolutely, bicameral. We are looking to see, can there be change in the middle of this heated political climate we have here? Give me your realistic assessment of anything Congress could vote on. Will there be anything that happens before a new president is in place?
Well, I don't know about before a new president, but I think that if, in fact, we were able to put a bill on the floor of the House today, tomorrow, it would pass. That just shows how Congress has moved and shifted. It would pass. Now, the political and the politics that's going on in Washington is putting everything to a halt. But I think that you're starting to hear more and more of the American people talking about that they want this change to happen. The American people are saying that they want to come down to Cuba. The American people are saying that our relationship should change. And that's what's going to make Congress move. And the more that you see us doing business here and you see the president utilizing executive order to change things here, the more the American people will get involved, and then the more you'll see Congress move.
And I think a lot of Americans might be surprised, Congressman Welch, at sort of the economic impact all across the country, in different parts of the country they never think of if this relationship becomes more open. Tell us a little bit, just from your perspective, about Vermont and the interest there.
Well, two things. Number one, companies really want to do business here, and they are down here in force. They're down here with
hotels,
the president.
airlines,
that's right. So
restaurants. Yes.
And there's a lot of Vermonters who want to come down here and find ways that we can participate. But the other question that Gregory was talking about, this embargo, it does not hurt the Castro brothers. They're doing fine. They get what they want, and they get it when they want it. It's everyday Cubans who can't get plywood. They can't get silverware. We're talking to somebody running one of those small restaurants. It's hard to get silverware. That's the effect of the embargo. This is a man with enormous energy. He and his wife started this. They have cooking classes, teaching other people how to become independent and self-sufficient. So there's, I think, a growing awareness that whatever the original justification of the embargo was, the effect of it is to hurt everyday Cubans, not at all affect the Castro brothers.
And as well, it hasn't changed. Nothing has changed here in 55 years. So
well, you've been coming since 1999. What changes have you seen?
Well, you see some minor changes with reference to some individuals who are becoming entrepreneurs, etc. But I also see changes when the willingness of wanting to talk to that have the embargo closed, reopened, and the embargo ended. So that is changing. And the fact that they want dialogue. You know, I came down here one year and I went to visit some young professionals, and we just went to their apartments. They were playing American music. They wanted to have more access to the internet. They wanted to make sure they had the telephones. I see that changing. And so as I go by and look at cafes, you see young people with telephones. They have their laptops. They want greater access. They want to be part of the general society of the world.
But you understand there's an overriding concern, both here with people I've talked to and, of course, many Cuban Americans. They live the horror. Their families often escaped. Their families lost property, were jailed. We still see it now. We saw what happened yesterday when dozens of people who were protesting peacefully, members of a group that do this every week, they thought, well, maybe they would get a pass this week just to say to President Obama, okay, we understand, but look, you can see these pictures of what happened here, and you understand the hesitation of people that they believe that we are giving economic opportunity but not getting much in return in terms of human rights, freedom of speech, the things that have been missing here.
And they're right to criticize because it's an oppressive political system. The question is whether embargo or engagement has the better prospect of helping the Cuban people. By the way, there's another point here that I think a lot of us are seeing. We can learn some things from the Cuban people. They live under very difficult circumstances without the political rights we enjoy. But they've got, everybody reads. They've got 100% just about literacy rate. They've got access to health care. Their longevity is as long as it is in the United States, maybe a little longer. So we're here in the hopes that we can bring something, but there's some things we might be able to learn from the Cuban people.
Do you think on the whole point, though, of the concern, the understanding concern and the points that we've heard from, frankly, people like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio on the other side of the aisle, people who here who have lost so much, who have been jailed. The president has a big opportunity tomorrow. He's going to have an uncensored speech, unprecedented.
That's right.
That's going to be heard on Cuban television as well as American television. Would you encourage him to be forceful, to go up and maybe even cross that line that people might think is diplomatically safe and speak about what's going on and what needs to change?
I've seen this president be forceful, and I think he will be. He's not going to shy away from those difficult issues and the problems that are taken here in Cuba. And he's going to say it on a television screen that will be, and on radio that will be heard here in Cuba, which would not happen if he didn't have this kind of dialogue. I traveled with him, for example, when he went to Kenya. He didn't shy away from the difficult issues there in front of all of the individuals and the citizens of Kenya. I think he's going to do the same thing here. I think those behind and closed-door meetings, he's saying the same thing to Raul Castro, and Castro's probably saying some things to him. But when you have an open and honest dialogue, and when you have diplomacy working, you do those things. You don't hide and shy away from them. You talk about them.
Well, one thing we're going to be watching for, will Raul Castro take questions after they come out of this meeting and they make their statement?
We hope he does.
Congressman Meeks, Congressman Welch, thank you both very much.